Heron Corn Mill is no stranger to development. Throughout its 900 years of milling history, the mill has changed to keep pace with the technology and the social needs of the times. The current mill buildings date from the mid-18th century and were built in one phase to house the rare Lauder frame and associated machinery. During the 19th century, the mill adapted to the change in economic climate and moved slowly from flour production to animal feed. The 20th century heralded a new phase of development. The mill was leased to W&J Pie Limited in 1927 to grind animal feed until 1958, when it finally ceased to operate as a working mill. The buildings and machinery slipped into decline until 1973, when the newly formed Beetham Trust leased the site from Henry Cook Limited, the owners of the paper mill on the opposite bank.
Well, when we first had the building surveyed, the architect reported that the hearse frame was in very good condition. The outside walls were sound, but of course the floors had all gone. A lot of the woodwork had to be replaced. The walls were covered in ivy. The outside was heavily overgrown with trees and shrubbery. And the company decided that this would be a well worthwhile piece of building to restore.
You estimated that the cost was going to be 30,000, but in fact it hasn't cost you that.
No, it cost about £11,500. This is mainly due to the fact that we got a tremendous amount of voluntary labour. We had a large number of young people from the mill, from the villages, working weekend after weekend, doing all the heavy work on clearing the site, tidying the place. We hope that we shall produce something commercially. It is not envisaged that the mill will run all the time, but it should run sufficient time to make flour for sale.
The newly restored mill was opened by Princess Alexandra in 1975. In 1978, further engineering works were undertaken by Bob Parkinson to restore the large water wheel, and in 2008, the mill's internal machinery was fully renovated by millwright Martin Watts. Whilst the Trust has preserved the traditional power production at the mill, it has also embraced new technology. In 2009, a Kaplan turbine was installed to produce energy for the mill. It also generates an income by selling the excess electricity to the paper mill on the opposite bank. In 2013, after securing £939,000 from the Lottery Heritage Fund, the mill underwent its most comprehensive phase of restoration.
Well, the first time I saw Heron Corn Mill, you could tell that it was in need of repair and restoration, especially the pointing and the roof. The roof was completely stripped of the old slate, and we had to use completely new slate to re-roof it. The timber underneath wasn't so bad. Usually in these types of old buildings you find more rotten rafters and things, but it was in good order. We had to just replace the battens and slates. The slates that we used are from Burlington's, a local quarry in Cumbria. The roof has had 3 new conservation roof lights installed. Unfortunately, we could only save about 50% of the ridge tiles as well, so the other half has had to be remade. When the building was renovated in the 70s, it was repointed in a cementitious mortar that we've had to remove at this restoration process, and we're using an original lime putty mortar mix to repoint the building in.
Internally, all timber repairs were made using traditional Douglas fir, and the walls were stripped back in preparation for a new layer of lime wash. The groundworks between the mill and the barn were redesigned to improve access for people with disabilities. Concrete flags were replaced with limestone paving from a local quarry, and handrails, ramps and lighting were installed.
I've always found history very interesting, plus as a tradesman working on these kind of buildings, you're leaving your own mark on history.
a really important thing is the people. So we were very, very positive about the support of the local community, and we were also very excited by the opportunities the project would give for learning skills, traditional skills in the actual work, and a number of people have had a chance to improve those skills, and I gather they've gone on to work on other sites in other parts of the country now, which is fantastic.
I've had a go at quite a few things. I've spent time with the roofers, I've done some pointing with the stonemasons, I've also done some torching, some carpentry work, so a general sort of feel for all trades really. Part of the placement was to do an MBQ module training course, which was maintenance of pre-1910 buildings, and that kind of really opened our eyes up. You try and be careful and try and put it back as best you can so it still looks original, and you sort of just trying to keep what the original craftsmen and tradesmen were doing.
Well, after graduating from study, I reluctantly signed on the dole, and rather than be on the dole, I looked into bursary placements, and this one just popped up at me. I entered it, come and had the interview, and the rest is history really. I haven't really used lime mortar before, so it was nice to actually get experience using lime mortars and applications. It's a good opportunity to gain knowledge with national heritage and gain experience within the heritage sector. So I would like to do more national heritage placements so I can pursue my chosen path in stone sculpture and heritage skills.
And they've both come on leaps and bounds. It's been a really good part of the project.
A series of apprentice days offered construction students the opportunity to learn heritage skills on site.
It's ideal for them to see a project which is actually being worked on rather than something which is finished. The building has been stripped down so they can see the inner frame, how the walls go together, how the different craftsmen work together to rebuild it sympathetically. The demonstration of the lime slaking was wonderful. It got the students' attention. The discussion about it previously, about the chemical reaction, and then actually seeing it in action brings it to life, and it's wonderful to see the tradespeople working on this, using new methods but using the old traditions, and that's what I think the students will gain mainly from this.
The 18th century barn has also undergone various phases of development. In 1988, this former threshing barn was resurrected by the Trust as a museum of paper making. The museum better reflected the industry of the paper mill on the opposite bank, so in 2008 the barn underwent a major redevelopment. Whilst the exterior retains its 18th century identity, the interior has been redesigned to create a versatile community space. Throughout the year, the mill hosts a variety of music, arts and educational events. Heron Corn Mill is now equipped for the 21st century. Its heritage as a working mill preserved and its place in the community reaffirmed. It brings together history, art and technology for future generations to enjoy.